for some peace of mind, but TikTok said a gator drove a jeep through the blinds. Florida man's at it again with fireworks and a goat, and someone married a ghost in a Dollar Tree coat. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is going on? Aliens dancing in a Waffle House song. Karen's got a taser in the checkout line, and Dr. Oz just adopted birds to fight off crime. Oh, I'm just sitting here scrolling, my jaw on the floor. The internet's a circus and I can't take no more. Yeah, when it's wildin', there's a raccoon in the sink. Someone robbed a Wendy's just to steal a frosty drink. A pastor's gone viral yelling about the end is near, while folks ride hoverboards in wedding gear. Hey, what in the Walmart rapture is this mess? Florida's a movie, but it's filmed in VHS. Someone fed meth to a squirrel named Dave, and now he's in a cage just throwing rave. I'm just...
Hey guys, it is July the 1st, which means if you have any of those like, fitness or any sort of subscriptions that you need to cancel or skip, here is your first reminder to do so you don't have to buy, new leggings. That being said, we have so much news and they've changed the names back. Thank you, Tiny Baby Jesus. Thank you, Wolfram, for your modly mod duties. Welcome back, Colorado Mountain Girl. And 80s Music Man Neon Gamer. I'm glad Jason J, Jeff Montgomery, Tammy Bogard, Deviance Moore, Mary, and Audio Coffee. I am so glad that they fixed the names back again. Denise Sells, good morning. We have a ton of news this morning. So Lord Chippy does get a bit of a break today because we have so many other, stories to talk about. As you guys, unless you are living under a rock and weren't aware, yesterday Brian Coberger has accepted a plea deal that will mean that he is not going to have a trial and not eligible for the DP, if you will. Now, this has sparked some outrage and very mixed feelings from the family, at least the families that have spoken out. Sister of University of Idaho murder victim has slammed the shocking and cruel Brian Coberger plea deal. The system has failed. And I can see this point. I can see this quite and understand this thought and, feeling of the families who really wanted to fight for the ultimate punishment, who wanted this monster to face the highest form of justice that's available on this earth. So I completely understand that. I did talk to our resident lawyer, Jedi Jess, who said that the prosecution is not honor bound by, to talk to the families before they come up with some of these deals. So that is something that I was unaware of. I thought that they worked quite closely with the families, but apparently they don't have to. Now, the sister of one of the 4 University of Idaho students that were slain in their off-campus home blasted the, quote, shocking and cruel plea deal that will spare the life of accused killer Brian Coberger. Now, Aubrey Gonclaves, and I did put out a separate video this morning in which I read her statement. For an 18-year-old young lady, she speaks eloquently about the loss and legacy of having this in her family, if you want to check that out. But she voiced her outrage over the deal in which Coberger will cop to taking her sister Kaylee Gonclaves and 3 other people's lives. I will get all their names, in a lengthy statement on Facebook. The introduction of this plea deal just weeks before the scheduled trial is both shocking and cruel, Aubrey wrote. We had faith in the system, but at this point it's impossible not to acknowledge the truth. The system has failed these 4 innocent victims and their families. Now, I will say that I do believe that this does save the family from years and years of appeals and to be called every several years and relive this as, Brian's team tries everything to get him appeal, to get him out of his sentence. So, on one hand, you don't get the opportunity to go for the ultimate punishment, but I was hoping that this would be a small measure of comfort, that they didn't have to go through a trial, that they didn't have to go through a circus of the defense. That being said, I'm sure that my perspective would change if my family member were affected in the same way. Now, state prosecutors reportedly sent a letter to the families of the murdered students, informing them of the deal that would let Coberger dodge the death penalty, provided he admits to breaking into the students' rental and taking the lives of the 4 University of Idaho undergrads in 2022. Now, the deal waives Coberger's right to appeals and demands a life sentence without the possibility of parole for each, child taken, according to the Idaho Statesman. Now, but for Aubrey, a lifetime behind bars isn't enough for the death of her sister. Brian Coberger facing a life in prison mean that he would still get to speak, form relationships, and engage with the world. Time and time again, we find ourselves blindsided, unheard, and unsupported. This last-minute plea deal feels like less an act of justice and more of an afterthought. Coberger, a PhD criminology student, is facing 4 murder charges for allegedly breaking into a house near the University of Idaho in the middle of the night and fatally stabbing Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. Prosecutors recently revealed that they had obtained evidence that Coberger, in the months before the killings, had purchased a knife and knife sheath online. Coberger reportedly left DNA on the sheath found at the crime scene, according to a police affidavit. But Coberger, a clean-cut doctoral student at the nearby University of Washington during the time of the attacks, has previously claimed he was totally innocent of the quadruple homicide that rocked the nation. Now, his lawyers had pushed for delays to the trial and sought to keep the most damning evidence out of the courtroom, including surveillance videotape and DNA collected at the crime scene. Aubrey wrote that the ceaseless delays and procedural hang-ups have placed a heavy burden on those already carrying unimaginable grief. And I do think that that's hard for some people, especially victims' families, to understand all the intricacies and, kind of procedural things that need to take place in a trial such as this. Again, if the state had been going for a capital punishment case, everything needs to be done by the book in order to try to alleviate and ameliorate all of the appeals that would come next. Now, prosecutors insist that the plea deal was the best path to justice. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted and spend the rest of his entire life in prison, and will not be able to put you or other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals, read the letter obtained by the Statesman. I do wonder if we are going to get a BTK-like hearing where he is forced to go through and admit each step of his crime in order to, plead guilty to it. I have not gotten into this case. With a daughter going off to college this coming year, I will tell you that this case is one of my darkest nightmares put into real life. I can't imagine what the family is dealing with and, how they're having to cope with another blow or another change to their life. I'm sure that, this isn't going to be something easy for them. I had hoped somewhat naively that maybe not having to go through a trial and all of that would be helpful, but apparently they were really ready to put in, and deal with all of the, appeals and everything that were involved with taking on a capital punishment case. So I don't know. There's going to be a hearing tomorrow that I'm going to try to catch and cover or even do on replay. And hopefully the families still get to make statements, make victim impact statements, and get the story that these four victims aren't just the Idaho Four. They were brothers, sisters, friends, and that they had a life and, so much to give other than being, kind of footnotes in true crime. And I hope that more of their life stories comes out and we forget all about Brian Coberger. Should all of this go through, I hope no one attempts to, engage with him and we just keep the memory of the victims alive. Like I said, y'all, we have a lot of news. The family of the Idaho sniper is speaking out. The family of alleged Idaho sniper Wes Rolley is breaking their silence after, he has been accused of ambushing and shooting two firefighters. Unless you're saying sorry, I really don't want to hear from anyone. The family of Idaho sniper Wes Rolley alleged, because look, I'm not a lawyerologist, but until the investigation is over with, we're waiting, who allegedly shot two firefighters dead after apparently luring them to the woods with a brush fire Sunday, has broken their silence, saying they don't understand how his hideous crime happened. Quote, "At this time, we, the family of Wes Rolley, would like to offer our most heartfelt condolences to the families of those whose lives were taken and to the community of Coeur d'Alene at large," Rolley's family told the Post in a statement issued through attorney Justin Wintington Monday. "There are no words that can suffice for this tragedy and infinite loss suffered by those affected by this shooting. We do not understand why this happened or how it came about," they continued. "Our hearts and spirits are broken for the lost and hurting and for our own loss as well," the family added, explaining they intended to fully cooperate with investigators as they deal with the grief of this heinous tragedy, in their own family. Now, Rolley, 20, now it has been put forward that he died of a self-inflicted wound on Sunday after attacking firefighters responding to the blaze that he set. About 300 law enforcement officers responded as he fired at people from the cover of the woods. Now his body was found after hours-long shootout. The fire he set continues to burn over 26 acres, officials stated Monday. Now, in addition to the two fatalities, one firefighter was seriously wounded, but is in stable condition. He is believed to have interacted with those firefighters about his vehicle as they arrived to put out the fire before the shots rang out. There has been no motivation for the sadistic attack yet identified, though investigators have ruled out any form of, political underlying stuff. So if you guys remember in my video yesterday where they released his name, there had been some internet scuttlebutt about this possibly being related to people who, for some reason, idolize that struggling Austrian painter from WW2. That does not look like it has at least any correlation with this as of yet. Now, he appeared to have been living in his car and interacted with the police at least 5 times since arriving in the Coeur d'Alene area sometime in 2024, according to police. But those run-ins were all minor, the police said Monday, and consisted little more of trespassing reports, welfare checks from people who saw Rolley parked on their property. Now, he had no criminal record in Idaho or in any of his previous homes in California or Arizona. He was born in California and endured a difficult divorce between his parents when he was 10 years old in 2015. A split which saw his father allegedly threaten to start a fire and take shots at his mother, according to court documents obtained by CNN, though the father said those accusations are false. The suspect also aspired to be a firefighter working in forestry, according to his grandfather, and may have been in Idaho to pursue that career. So we are still searching for answers. I do think it's brave that the family has come out to extend condolences to the people that were affected by their child. And as hard as it is to wrap our minds around it, they have experienced a loss too. They probably remember bringing him home from the hospital and, him being 2 and 3 and 7. So as hard as it is to wrap our heads around it, they are grieving as well. J. Kitty Buck, I give them credit because we don't often see the families reaching out to extend condolences. So I do think that is very refreshing to me. And thank you so much, Anima Rumpier. Let's see, what is next? We have some more sad news, unfortunately, and another update. It does seem like the one victim who had suffered a lot of burns and was holding on in the hospital after the Molotov cocktailing at I think, Peace for Israel event has passed away. Unfortunately, burns are a very, very hard thing to keep clean. A lot of times people pass away from infections, and being 82, she might not have had the strength in her body to carry on. Sadly, an 82-year-old woman that suffered burns in a firebombing in Boulder, Colorado earlier this month has passed away, authorities announced Monday, prompting an upgrade in criminal charges against the person suspected of carrying out the attack. Karen Diamond, among 14 people that were injured in the attack at Boulder's Pearl Street Mall on June 1st, passed away tragically as the result of severe injuries that she'd suffered in the attack, the district attorney's office said. Now, Diamond and another victim were airlifted to a Denver area hospital in Aurora, which is about 32 miles north of Boulder, because of the severity of their injuries. Diamond had previously not been identified publicly. There are simply no words to properly express the pain of this tragic loss, Boulder Jewish Community Center Executive Director Jonathan Levy and JCC Board Chair David Paul said in an email to Boulder Daily Camera. Karen was a cherished member of our community, someone whose warmth and generosity left a lasting impact on all who knew her. I believe they will get to that in the article because I want to make sure I say his name correctly. And with Diamond's death, prosecutors have updated charges against Mohammed Soliman, 45, of Colorado Spring, KUSA TV reported. Prosecutors amended counts 4 and 5 to first-degree murder instead of attempted murder. Now, he was arrested after the attack on the group of people peacefully marching in a Run for Their Lives event to raise awareness of the Israeli hostages that are still being held in Gaza. This horrific act of terror has now claimed the life of an innocent person who was beloved by her family and friends, District Attorney Michael Doherty said. Our hearts are with the Diamond family during this incredibly difficult time. Our office will fight for justice for all victims, their loved ones, and their community. Part of what makes Colorado special is that people come together in response to tragedy. I know that the community will unite in supporting the Diamond family and all victims of this attack. Now, prosecutors also added 66 more counts, which are related to the 14 additional victims identified through the ongoing investigation, for a total of 101 counts. In all, 13 were physically injured. Now, if convicted of the first-degree murder charge, he faces an automatic life sentence without parole. Sadly, a dog was also injured in the attack. Now, on June 2nd, state bond was set at $10 million, and the same day he was charged in federal court, including one hate crime count. Last week, he was charged with 9 federal counts of a hate crime. Other charges are 2 counts of using fire or an explosive to commit a felony, 1 count of carrying an explosive during the commission of a felony. Now, if convicted on the federal count, he could face the maximum sentence of life in prison. Now, he has pled guilty or not guilty to all those charges during the hearing Friday. The Department of Justice hasn't yet said whether the charges would be updated. Now, Solomon, an Egyptian national, entered California in August 2022 on a B-2 visa that expired in February 2023. His asylum claim was pending, and Tricia McClanahan said, as a spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, he had reportedly lived in Kuwait for 17 years before moving to Colorado. So, again, very sad update. I don't know who's going to go first. If it is the federal case, that will not be televised, but I'm sure there will be people covering it daily. As far as the state charges, this is going to be a large case with many victims, so it is going to take time to, get all of these charges, have all of the preliminary hearings. So I would foresee a year or longer before either of these cases go to trial. I could be very wrong about that, but due process means time. In more, the top hits of true crime, we have updates on all of them. Well, this heifer is looking at additional charges. Yes, children's grief book author and alleged murderess Corey Richins is slapped with an additional 26 new charges. Children's author Corey Richins, who wrote a popular book about dealing with grief after allegedly taking her husband's life, was slapped with over 24 new charges involving financial schemes linked to his death. Summit County prosecutors announced Friday that Richins, 33, allegedly took out a massive high-interest loan, forged documents, and shifted money through shell businesses in the months before her husband, Eric Richins, died from being poisoned in 2022. Now, they claim investigators found that the mom of 3 used a power of attorney to obtain a $250,000 home equity line of credit on Eric's premarital home without him knowing. She is then suspected of funneling that money into her real estate business, K. Richardson's Realty. Now, Eric learned about the secret line of credit on October 2020, which prosecutors allege was a source of tension between the couple. Now, after the discovery, Eric met with a divorce lawyer and an estate planning lawyer to protect himself and his children from any misuse or abuse of his finances. However, the mom of 3 assured him that she would repay the loan, but it had not been repaid by the time of his death. The defendant informed Eric Richins that she would pay him the loan back and led him to believe that she had repaid it. However, the loan was not paid off on the day of Eric's death. Now, the charging documents also allege that she borrowed millions more through hard money loans as her business was already defaulting on existing debts and burning through cash. By that day, she had already defaulted on one loan and was delinquent on several others. She continued efforts to borrow from new high-interest lenders to meet her existing obligations. By the end of 2021, the defendant stood on the precipice of total financial collapse. Now, prosecutors said in December 2021, she was so deep in debt she agreed to buy an unfinished $2.9 million mansion. She was so deep in debt she decided she was going to buy a mansion. I need this sentence to make sense. And she was scheduled to close on that property on March 4th, 2022, the day of her husband's passing. On the day of Eric's death, she owed hard money lenders at least 1.8 million, and the day after his death owed them nearly 5 million, the filing states. Before his death, Eric had also cut his wife out of his will and changed his life insurance policy as he sought a divorce. Now, she allegedly attempted to name herself beneficiary of the policy, but was caught, and Eric reversed the move, reinstating his sister to his plan. Now, both sides of the family have spent the last several months in court battling over Eric's $3.6 million estate. Prosecutors say that she also stole about $134,000 from her husband's business, withdrew $100,000 from his bank accounts, and spent more than $30,000 with his credit cards. Lorie Valow, move over. Forget malachite rings. This bitch bought everything. Now, the alleged murderer was charged with 7 counts of money laundering, 5 counts of mortgage fraud, 1 count of communication frauds, 1 count of engaging in a pattern of unlawful activity, all second-degree felonies. She's also facing an additional 5 counts of forgery and 7 counts of issuing a bad check, which are third-degree felonies. This sudden push to file new fraud charges over 2 years later underscores the weakness of the state's pending murder charges, since these fraud charges would not even come into play unless they failed to secure a conviction, her defense attorneys Kathy Nestor and Wendy Lewis said of the new charges, according to Court TV. The timing is also extremely troubling in light of the fact that the parties are trying to seat an impartial jury in Summit County. Now, Richens was charged with Eric's murder in May 2022 after she allegedly poisoned him with fentanyl-laced Moscow Mule at their home on Willow Court in Camas. Her case gained attention around the nation after it was revealed that she had self-published a kid's book titled Are You With Me?, about a father who passes away and looks down on his sons as an angel, and promoted it on TV and radio shows. Her trial is slated to begin with jury selection in February 2026. Now, prosecutors stated that the looming financial charges may be dealt with in a separate legal proceeding. But this, I think, does go to the weight of evidence that she was lying, capable of manipulating. Now, when manipulating becomes murder is something that they'll have to prove. But definitely, I will be intrigued to see if these charges remain in the, upcoming trial, or this is separated out. In some interesting news, just when I thought it was safe to fly, passengers have been flagged by the TSA after quote-unquote swamp crotch sets off alarms. And it's happening to others too. Don't wear polyester. It is the ire of flyers who profusely perspire. Nearly no one enjoys getting stopped by the TSA authorities at the airport, but when a checkpoint alarm blares and begins, around the traveler's groin, as happened to one befuddled passenger not so long ago, there's a chance it's due to extreme, swamp butt in their pants. I flew for the first time in 15 years this week, and at both airpoints, they flagged my crotch and arms with a scanner, said a confused tripper on Reddit recently. Now, the wet wanderluster described herself as a mid-sized young woman, about 169 pounds, 5'8", wearing bike shorts and normal underwear. She reassured media readers that, she didn't have any piercing or wasn't outfitted with any medical devices, and claimed that her pockets were totally empty. I don't care about the pat down. They were polite and professional, so it doesn't bother me, said the baffled flyer, but I'm wondering what did it. Now, internet know-it-alls say it's crotch sweat, and they're likely right. Ew. Sweat, feminine products, liners, pads, depends. It could be any of those culprits, a Reddit commenter wrote. Last time I flew out of my home airport in Tampa, I got searched too. admitted an equally sweaty jet setter. The security guard said something unnerving like swamp rot or swamp crotch or something similarly embarrassing. It's a bodily function that can wrongly trigger red flags, says TSA expert Shauna Mulvaney-Redden. Perspiration is probably the weirdest thing that can set off scanners, she said recently, explaining to Reader's Digest. It has to do with the millimeter wave technology and how the waves bounce off of water. The insider added that because machines often generate false alarms set off due to sweat, some countries, including France and Germany, have banned scanners altogether. But massive moisture isn't the only reason that TSA technology might mistake one's undercarriage for a dangerous weapon. Well, let me guess. It has been alleged that frequent flyers boasting larger features, such as a bootylicious behind, can expect to be stopped and searched before getting a green light to board a plane. On-person screening technology effectively screens diverse populations of travelers every day, representatives for TSA previously told the Post, adding that their devices and screening algorithms are trained to recognize body composition. So, any unexpected abnormalities, including excessive sweat, could potentially prompt an alert. Wear deodorant and stay sure. I don't know. The fact that I have to take off my shoes and walk barefoot on the ground, just ew. No, that is a major reason I won't fly. I know it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal for me. I don't like walking barefoot. In more news of the true crime variety, well, Diddy's trial is, taking a bit of a hiccup right now, as, 2 hours into deliberation, jury sends a note to a judge about a disobedient juror. Nothing like jurors behaving badly. Sean Diddy Combs and his trafficking trial took an unexpected turn after the jury was dismissed from the courtroom to begin deliberations. Just 2 hours into the process, the judge received a note from the foreman reporting that one of the jurors was unlikely to follow the instructions that the judge had laid out. While the judge ultimately responded by reminding the jury of their responsibilities through a written note, a legal expert unaffiliated with the case described the situation as significant and suggested it could provide grounds for an appeal if, Diddy was found guilty. Now, just 2 hours into deliberations for his trial, there was an issue with one of the jurors. Now, according to TMZ, Juror 25, a 51-year-old Hispanic man with a PhD in molecular biology and neuroscience, was refusing to follow the judge's instructions in determining Diddy's guilt or innocence. This concern led the jury to send a note to Judge Arun Subramanian. I am not having a good reading day. We have a juror, Juror 25, who we believe cannot follow Your Honor's instructions. Now, in response, Diddy's attorney, Mark Angolfino, informed the judge to tell jurors that it was too early in the deliberations for such concerns. Meanwhile, prosecutors reminded and recommended instructing the jurors not to share details of their discussions. Now, the judge ultimately responded with a note reminding the jury of his original instructions and to follow the law and asked them to resume deliberations. During his instructions to the jury, the judge explained the details of the racketeering charges. He stated that a guilty verdict should only be reached if the jury determines that Combs and any of his alleged co-conspirators agreed to commit at least 2 of the following crimes: trafficking, witness tampering, bribery, arson, forced labor, transportation to engage in smonstitution, possession with intent to distribute controlled substances, and kidnapping. Now, these 2 crimes must have also been committed within a 10-year period of each other. The judge also further informed the jury that their notes must not be shared either among themselves or on social media. As part of his final instructions, the judge directed the jury to select a foreperson and to coordinate and lead their discussions. Then he, formally dismissed the jury and began deliberations, released the alternate jurors from their duties. Now, while it's unclear whether the jury is leaning toward a guilty or not guilty verdict, an expert has stated that an issue with the juror is quite significant. I mean, yes. There's a wild card on this jury, and that's significant. It can happen incredibly quickly. There's a lot of give, take, back and forth. Alan Turkheimer, a lawyer and jury consultant, said. Now, he emphasized how notable the note from the jury was in regard with the case. Deliberations can get incredibly heated, and that's part of the process. For the jurors to say that one of the jurors is not going to follow the judge's instructions is quite notable, especially at this early stage in the process. Should the verdict result in a guilty conviction, the expert does believe that the jury issue could help Diddy appeal the ruling. There's already good grounds for any type of appeal by the defense should there be a conviction. So there you go. I know that the state had to drop several of the charges, which is unusual because usually with federal indictments, they don't charge unless they're going to get a conviction. So it is interesting that you had the state already drop several charges, and now you have a juror who's basically like full nullification. Allegedly in Minecraft. This Diddy trial has been crazy, and I haven't even, started really covering it. Well, I mean, just when you thought it was safe to go swimming in New York, a woman was most likely bitten by a tiger shark while swimming off a New York beach. Never going back in the ocean ever again. A 20-year-old woman was likely bitten by a juvenile sand tiger shark while swimming off a New York beach, officials said. Now, the unidentified woman was waist deep in the surf at Central Mall beachfront of Jones Beach State Park when at about 4:15 p.m. on Wednesday, she reported being bitten by an unknown marine wildlife. The state's Park, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Office said in a statement on Friday. Now, officials said the woman suffered non-life-threatening lacerations to her left foot and leg and was transported to Nassau County University Medical Center for treatment. She did not observe exactly what attacked her, but an investigation ensued with biologists concluding it was most likely a juvenile sand tiger shark, though without direct observation of the animal that caused the bites, a full expert consensus was not reached. Swimming resumed on the beach Thursday after park staff and police used drones to search the area and lifeguards scanned the water from shore. There have been a total of 24 confirmed unprovoked shark attacks in New York State since 1837, according to Florida Museum's International Shark Attack File. I didn't know that you had an International Shark Attack File, Florida. Interesting. More true crime updates. In a story that we've all kind of been, what the Hades is going on, even when it first came to light, suspects are now being charged after 3 Chief fans were found dead in a backyard. We do have 2 suspects that are facing felony murder charges 17 months after 3 men were found dead in a Kansas City backyard. Now, more than a year after 3 Kansas City Chief fans were found dead in his backyard, Jordan Willis is now being charged with their murders, even though, according to his attorney and family, he never expected to be. Now, Willis, 39, and co-defendant Ivory Blade Carson are each facing 3 counts of second-degree felony murder and 1 count of distributing a controlled substance, according to the amended criminal complaint filed June 27th in Pallet County Circuit Court. Now, the charges stem from the January 2024 deaths of Clayton McGeeney, 36, David Harrington, 37, and Ricky Johnson, 38, 3 lifelong friends who were found unresponsive in the backyard of Willis's Kansas City rental home following a football watch party. And I think a lot of us, when this story first broke, were a bit confused and wondered if there were ever going to be any charges, what had happened to these men, how they ended up outside. It was all a very odd case when it first broke. Now, as previously reported, the victims had gathered at, Willis's rental home on January 7th to watch the Kansas City Chiefs play the Los Angeles Chargers. When they failed to return home, loved ones began to worry. On January 9th, 2 days after the men were last seen alive, McGeeney's fiancée forced her way into the home and unfortunately was the one to discover the 3 men passed away in the backyard. Now, all 3 victims died of a combination of F and cocaine toxicity, according to charging documents. Prosecutors alleged that Willis provided the, not street legal pharmaceuticals, and additional controlled substances in the weeks prior. Now, under Missouri law, anyone who causes death during the commission of a separate felony, in this case drug distribution, can be charged with felony murder even if the death wasn't intentional. Now, Willis's attorney, John Picknerno, called the charges an unusual use of Missouri's felony murder law. In 30 years of state practice, I've never seen it used quite like this. Now, Willis and Carson had previously been charged only with drug distribution and were offered a plea deal that would have capped their sentences to 10 years behind bars. They both turned down the prosecutor's plea offer to lesser charges. Willis's attorney said, as is usual for prosecutors, they have upgraded those charges. It wasn't much of a consideration, he continued. Jordan has maintained since day one that he's not responsible for their deaths, and he never even considered pleading guilty. Now, Picknerno said he will soon file a motion to sever Willis's case from Carson, arguing that the men should not be tried together. There was going to be evidence introduced against him that shouldn't and should not be used against Jordan. I don't want my guy associated with him. Now, people could not reach out to Carson's attorney for comment. Now, Picknerno suggested that prosecutors had previously told him only Carson would face serious charges and that the case was inactive for a time before being reclassified as a homicide. This is a smaller jurisdiction known to be more hardline on crime and not immune to public pressure. The families were very adamant that someone be charged. In a pre-trial hearing scheduled for late July, Picknerno confirmed that his client remains free on bond. In the meantime, Willis is also subject to 4 wrongful death lawsuits, including one filed by the mother of a victim's child. Now, those cases have been consolidated into one single proceeding. This is a deeply stressful time for him, but he is remaining hopeful that the, truth will come out. A family member of Willis said, who was asked to be left anonymous. He's doing the best he can under the circumstances. This has been so insane and shocking since it happened, the family member continued. These charges aren't something anyone saw coming, and for him to get the same charges as a drug dealer is preposterous. Okay, but did he or did he not give them the drugs that killed them and took a nap for 2 days while everyone was trying to find these 3 people and said he was napping and that's why he didn't know they were outside? I mean, there has been something hinky with this case for a long time, and hopefully the trial is the time we will get some of those information and those answers for the family. Now, I just couldn't help but think of Amber Heard during this, and I know I shouldn't have Amber Heard pop into my brain because, insanity, but I think you'll see why when I show you the headline. Because what am I supposed to do with this, you guys? A billionaire's death after swallowing a bee raises questions about cardiac reaction. Oh, and happy Canada Day. I forgot that today is Canada Day. So, to our neighbors to the north, we appreciate you. Thank you for Degrassi and a lot of the guys from Whose Line Is It Anyways? I think a lot of those guys are Canadian. So thank you for your contributions. And, well, is it Gavin or Gawain? But that man made strange music. That being said, thank you for Alanis Morissette. You had her when she was happy, which is strange. We got her when she was angry. And Rush. Thank you for Rush. And let's see. John Candy. John Candy's Canadian, right? Well, thank you for all of your Canadian people who have given us much. On June 12th, a prominent billionaire from India, Sunjay Kapur, died suddenly at the age of 57 in Windsor, England, according to multiple reports. Now, Kapur was the chairman of Sona Comstar, an Indian automotive components manufacturer. His close friend, business consultant, Shahul Seth, confirmed Kapur's death in a post on X the same day. Now, in the following days, it was revealed that he had died while playing polo. I guess if there's any way to go, polo. Rick Moranis. I knew there was someone, and Pamela Anderson. And Shatner. So he had passed away while playing polo. Now, multiple outlets reported that he collapsed after swallowing a bee mid-match, potentially triggering a fatal heart attack. Now, no source for the billionaire confirmed that a bee caused the heart attack, and Fox News Digital reached out to Sona Comstar for comment. It is not so. I don't know if it's entirely possible to swallow a bee and then have it be a heart attack, but I would just like to tell each and every one of you that if I pass away, swallowing a damn bee, just say I got attacked by killer hornets, okay? Just don't tell anyone I swallowed a bee. I don't need that shame. I'll already have different shame. Well, it's Florida, man, and we need some good stories. We've had entirely too many serious stories. Y'all, this headline, I just don't know. I don't know what to do with this headline. A Florida man headbutted by an airborne shark while surfing in an insane video. I'm really happy its mouth wasn't open. Let's see if they have... How and why? Okay. Oh, holy crab apples. It really did just go right into him. You'd think that the shark would at least have better aim. I mean, Lord knows I wouldn't, but the shark would. You'd think. A surfer at a Florida beach was suddenly thrown off of his surfboard after an aptly named spinner shark propelled itself into the air and knocked directly into the man's head last week in an insane caught-on-video encounter. Darren Kay was surfing off the coast of New Smyrna Beach, an inlet northeast of Orlando that's often crawling with sharks, when he found himself head-to-head with the apex predator. Now, Kay said that he's seen sharks milling about the water near shore and even witnessed a few attacks, so he kept his eye out while he paddled. But he didn't think that, he should check the air above his head. The spinner shark, which gets its name from its signature spinning leaps during feeds, suddenly went airborne directly in front of Kay and smacked him in the head, knocking him off the board. We finally get our Sharknado. Wild footage of the close encounter, shows. I was just really happy that his mouth wasn't open, he told WFTV 9, noting spinner sharks jump out of the water while they're hunting fish. Kay said he had no idea what was happening when the hulking sharp-toothed monster came at him. But I got right back on that board. My pulse was like 195 beats a minute, and I paddled as fast as I could out of the way, he told a Florida outlet. He said he felt the immediate impact was more like getting slammed by a car, a feeling he knows all too well. I have a scar on the side of my elbow from being hit by a car, and that's what it felt like. It felt like getting hit by a car. It was really strong and powerful. They're all muscle, Now, lucky for Kay, spinner sharks aren't known for having the strongest bite or being aggressive to humans. Other sharks observed frequenting the beach include the black-tip shark and the bull shark. The bull shark is one of the most dangerous species to people. Now, the passionate surfer wasn't fazed by the unusual shark attack and headed right back to the beach where it happened. No, God was giving you a pass. And now you're tempting God again? Why? Just why? We surfed there the rest of the weekend. We surfed there this morning. We surfed there yesterday afternoon. We always had waves and we were lucky, Kay told the local station. Now that summer is in full swing, it also means that shark attack season on the beaches across the East Coast is upon us. Earlier this month, a 9-year-old girl nearly lost her hand during another more traditional shark attack in the Sunshine State, but surgeons were able to miraculously, make sure that all of the connections were sewn back together. Mere days later, a beachgoer in South Carolina was mauled by a shark near Hilton Head Island. Now, she was airlifted to a hospital and treated for her injuries. Probably. Now, I don't know why you would do this. Again, I have been blessed to not need money or owe cartels any money for any time in my life. But a plane passenger was caught with 16 live snakes, including a rhino rat snake. Again, stop putting snakes down your pants. I don't know why I should have to repeatedly say this, but if you needed this, public service announcements, don't put snakes in your pants. Indians customs officers in Mumbai said that they stopped a plane passenger arriving from Thailand with a wriggling cargo of live snakes, the third such seizure this month. Customs officers foiled yet another wildlife smuggling attempt. 16 live snakes seized from a passenger returning from Thailand. They said it took place at the Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Chhatrapati Shivaji Mahendra International Airport in India. I apologize to all of my Indian viewers. I'm sure I got not one letter of that airport right. But I did try to hooked on phonics it. Now, the passenger who arrived on Sunday has been arrested, the customs agency said in a statement, with further investigation underway. The live snakes included reptiles often sold in the pet trade, which were largely, non-venomous or with venom too weak to affect people. Ooh. Interesting. The agency posted images on social media of the snakes that were discovered. So let's see if they actually put the snakes in the article. No, they didn't. This is just the picture that... Don't put snakes in your pants. I don't know why it is that I have to continue to have these. Now, in February, custom officials at Mumbai Airport also stopped a smuggler carrying 5 gibbons, a small ape native to the forests of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. Now, those small creatures are listed as endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and were ingeniously concealed in a plastic crate placed inside a passenger's trolley bag. In November, authorities found a passenger carrying 5 live, turtles in their pants. It's a very troubling trend. Don't put wild animals in your jungular region. I don't know why you would think that would be great, but it's a bad idea. Not to mention, you bring non-native species, we're going to have issues. It's actually going to be bad. It's a bad idea. I mean, if you do that, this is what happens. Officials are issuing warnings after hikers spot huge invasive lizards lurking in a state park. If you see it, back away safely. Look, if I see a big giant damn lizard, my day is done. Look, just know I will never be hiking again. Hikers were shocked to discover a giant invasive species of lizard, the Argentine tigu, in a California park. An article in the Smithsonian Magazine revealed that the Argentinian tigu has been spotted in Joseph D. Grant County Park, not far from San Jose. After the invasive species was discovered by hikers, park rangers began to search for the lizards and told the public to keep an eye out. Though the Argentine tigu does not pose a physical threat to humans, these lizards are not meant to be in the United States and can cause serious harm to local ecosystems. This tigu and the couple others could possibly be an escaped pet, according to the Smithsonian. Do not go searching for it or try to trap it. Santa Clara County Park said on Facebook, if you see it, back away safely and notify rangers as soon as possible. Now, the tigus can grow up to 5 feet long. They eat eggs and hatchlings of native species, such as ground nesting birds, snakes, alligators, and tortoises. Often, invasive species are introduced to ecosystems by humans, and their presence has a potential to decimate native ecology. They often reproduce too quickly and make survival difficult for the plants and animals that are naturally part of the habitat and compete with native species for food and water. So don't release, your lizards out into public. I don't know why you would, but just don't. In Florida, it is illegal to own tigus because of how invasive they are, and officials are in the process of trapping and converting to leather as many of these lizards as they can. We can slow them down, but we can't stop them. They're here and they're reproducing. Kevin Dunmore, an invasive species biologist in the Everglades National Park, said, per the Smithsonian. Though tigus are illegal to own and breed in many parts of the U.S., including Florida, they are legal to own in California. Perhaps if the invasive species problem gets worse, local governments will consider tightening the law owning these lizards. Again, I'm not a lizard person. If this is your jam, then have at it. It's not my jam, but they give me the creeps. I'm going to be honest. I don't understand reptiles. I mean, I get them as a species, as a classification. They're just not my dream animals. And our final story, well, I guess that's it for clean energy. And also, I don't know about anyone who's ever seen one of these windmill blades drive by. You would think they would be so much smaller, but they're actually ginormously huge. One person was hurt in a windmill blade incident on Maryland Highway. A windmill turbine blade came loose Monday morning and crossed the median on Interstate 70 in Maryland, causing traffic to be backed up for several miles. Now, according to the Maryland State Police troopers, they responded to I-70 West near Interstate 81 just after 5 a.m., where they learned that a tractor-trailer had been hauling a windmill blade west on I-70 when the blade came loose. The blade then ended up across the center median, blocking eastbound lanes, according to state police. Now, officials said that no one was hurt, but in an update at around 8:50 a.m., state police confirmed with Nestar's WDCW that one person was taken to the hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Oh, you would just see me cringing. That being said, if she was like Liz from Miss Frizzle, I'd be okay. Liz from the Magic School Bus, you're sold. So I am glad that no one was hurt. Now 3 lanes were blocked off from I-70 East, and 4 lanes were also closed on I-70 West after the incident. Traffic cameras captured the bizarre scene as authorities directed traffic in both directions. Drivers traveling in the area could expect heavy delays as crews work to remove the turbine from the highway. So there you go. I guess we'll never, this is why we can't have nice things. Well, you guys, that was a lot. There was a lot to cover from all of the true crime cases basically having updates. I do have a video coming out with an update on the Lucy Letby case from the UK. It does look like after a long time of investigation, the Crown prosecution has decided to go after some of the hospital administrators and sort of coordinators who either refused to listen to or did not investigate the sharp increase in infant collapses and fatalities in the NICU. I don't know tomorrow's news, Jeffrey. So there have been charges laid at 3 of the administrators. Now their information hasn't been given out. UK is a bit different, and I did play Miss Frizzle one Halloween, maybe my first Halloween on YouTube. So maybe I'll get my Miss Frizzle dresses out again for Halloween. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I will be back on in about 30 minutes to go over the Lorie Valow case, internet withstanding, and get into that epic crazy and continue going with the Petty Express. It is rainy and gross outside, so I will be an indoor cat on my own today. I will see you guys in just a little bit. Remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, because kindness does not equal doormat. Bye, you guys.